8:32 News Talk Saga 960. Raw Mike Richards. When we had the podcast, Darren Frost came in.
Yes, I did.
And Darren Frost killed us. Killed everything. And I got to tell you, whenever we had like I sort of made like a reel, sort of a best of that time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to MC or you're a keynote speaker, one of those things, I used to run this reel. Your Wayne Gretzky story, when it came to
classic.
that in that hole, it would always bring the house down.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I'll tell you, we get a chance to have, comics coming in, and it's just such a hard, like a truly not what people think. Like it's not a job. It's just your lifestyle. It's who you are. You got to do it. You do it sometimes, and there's a monetary value to it.
Sure,
and
very rarely in Canada, but yeah, there is. Yeah,
but then, or it's just being sad.
Yes.
Somewhere that's not close to your home.
Yes.
And hoping you get a sandwich.
Yes.
I mean, it really can
a
be
sandwich? Do you get sandwiches in showbiz? Wow, you guys are fancy.
Way
I'm lucky
fancy.
to get a Subway coupon at the end of the gig. And I got to buy 5 subs to get the free sub. And I find out everyone gets that coupon.
That's right. You're not special. But you kind of are. You've been doing this for how many years now?
Almost 30 years now.
Oh, my God.
30 years. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? I haven't figured it out after 30 years. I haven't figured it out. Maybe I should have been an electrician.
And are you a married man?
I am married. I've been married almost 20 years.
So someone,
in show business
good.
and married.
Yeah, I know.
Someone's really paid the price too. Then, haven't they? Yeah.
And my kids kind of know who I am. They sometimes see Dad passing in the wind.
So story yelling.
Yes, my new album.
The new album. Did it debut at number 1 on iTunes?
It debuted at number 1, and in Canada, that's 4 copies in a row.
Okay.
If someone buys 4 copies at once, no.
Boom.
Boom. It's debuted at number 1, and then, it fluctuates every day. It's still in the top 10, but sometimes it drops down to 5. It turns out when I debuted, I was number 1, Weird Al was number 6, and all the other in the top 10 was this French guy in Quebec. He had like 8 albums out at once. I'm like, 8 albums? Like... It was unbelievable.
Why would you do?
Good strategy though, because if you and Weird Al have 2 positions, the other guy has the other 8.
Yeah.
If you would have done 9, you could have had all 10.
I know.
Who's doing 8 albums? The French are so weird. Like, honestly, who does that?
Yeah, I don't know.
And what's the material? Because half of it, I think, is probably sound effects. I got to be honest.
Well, they like their wacky.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. They're culturally different. Yes, for sure. But, I will say this, and we love to, make fun of Quebec and all that, but I do say all the time, at least they support their culture.
Hugely.
And they make sure it stays. And if they want that kind of comedy, it's not my kind of comedy, but it's theirs, and they want to support it, they support it with their dollars. It's like Aboriginal talent, right? They always support their own. In Canada... Not so much with everything else in the rest of the country.
It's really true. Like when we talk about sports, I said if in an Olympic year we took out all the francophone participation,
yes,
we'd lose literally almost all our medals,
right?
Because they do support it.
Yes,
and like just for laughs, the fact that they thought they could do a comedy festival
back when there was none. Yeah.
Like when that first started back in the, I'll tell you.
It's been 25 years.
Like I would say 80s. I remember seeing it in university.
Well, longer, yeah.
And I'm like, what do they mean they're doing a comedy festival? Like where else? Where else would there been one? I don't know of anyone in any of the major cities across.
Not that time.
States.
They were the first, and that's why they had. In the beginning, it was a bit rocky, I think, but within the first 5 years, it became a premier thing, and now it's been going around 30 years or longer because it did start in the 80s. And I know some of the comics that did the first one, and they're like, they can't believe how big it's become. No, it's a juggernaut around the world.
You must have. You've performed.
I've done it twice. I did it. I did the Nasty Show in 2005 with Jim Jeffries and Doug Stanhope and a bunch of other dirty
really
comics.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't been back since. I've been doing a lot more cartoon voices and living in Barrie with my children.
Yeah, but see, cartoon voices.
That's where the money is. Yeah, absolutely.
I can, we'll come back and.
Yeah, I want to know more about these cartoon voices because I'm guessing as a person that has watched 17 hours of Treehouse a day.
You know my voice.
I may have heard your voice somewhere, and we're going to tell you more about that.
People are like, he was doing cartoons? What kind of cartoons are these? No, it's not those kind of cartoons. Not that you'd be adverse to doing those cartoons.
No, sure, I'm down.
Yeah, of course. Here's Dave in the traffic. We'll come back on the other side with Frosty.
Thanks so much, Mike. 401, a little bit of problems this morning. Mississauga Road has a vehicle stopped on the road as you make your way onto the highway. Volume itself on the highway, it's just packed. It is the 401 this hour. Here, Ontario has a notification also getting one near Tompkin Road. Dixie as well. 410 Brampton. Just a slow go as you make your way south onto the 401. Erin Mills Parkway in the 403 has a notification as well. On the opposite side of it, Southdown and the 403 leading to Etobicoke, quite busy as well. Lots of volume out there. It is 8:37, -3, feeling like -7. Plenty of sunshine in the forecast right now. Actually, let's upgrade that. It's 0 degrees, feels like -5. Plenty of sunshine, going up to a daytime high of 5 degrees. The sun will continue throughout the day.
Checking the Lakeshore West, it's been an excellent morning. Very few problems. There is one update. The 749 eastbound West Harbor to Union Station is a 5-minute delay. Train is moving, but that is the only report so far. Everything else on time. It is 8:37 on Newstalk, Saga 960.
Hang on. There'll be more gambling, booze, and meat talk, sprinkled in with sarcasm, condescension, and insults. This is Raw Mike Richards, brought to you by Bell Lifestyle Products.
Now, your tour in April, solo? Like, will you be going out?
I'll be going with some local comics in each place, but this is the first time in 5 years I'm going to go coast to coast and north. So I'm going to be going all the way from PEI in Newfoundland all the way to Vancouver and Victoria, and as far north as Whitehorse.
Wow.
You want the Whitehorse?
I'm going all the way to Whitehorse.
So who books this? Who does that schedule for you?
Some of this is through agents, and a lot of it's on my own. Because in Canada, it's like in anything, in any form of show business in Canada, you have to do it for yourself. Right. You can't rely on anyone. Right. There's just no way you can rely on anyone. And if you do, then the phone's not going to ring. Right. The only reason I've stayed in 30 years is because I've kind of bobbed and weaved and did different jobs with different hats. Sometimes I don't even book myself. I book friends of mine, and I kind of help them out because then they're going to eventually help you out. That's how it is. Like in Canada, they kind of run from controversy, whereas in America, they accept it and they embrace it. So even from a media standpoint, I'm not dogging it. It's hard when you're a dirty comic to get on radio.
So when we come back, that's what we'll talk about.
Sure.
We'll get to the controversy. Will be great.
Right.
How long is that tour for? Like, because if you're going that far, like, it's not done in 10 days.
No.
We'll
talk about that. Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
Now, I'm trying to think of the guys that you would work with, quote unquote, the dirty comics. Mm-hmm. Like Rob Pugh was not in that category.
Well, he would be considered dirty.
Would he? Rob would be?
Yeah.
Kenny Robinson.
Aaron Berg, Jason Rouse, Terry Clement.
Yeah, Jason. Is Jason? He's a Hamilton guy, isn't he?
Originally from Hamilton, now lives in Los Angeles. Yeah. Aaron lives in New York. Most of the dirty comic, Derek's again, but he's based out of Montreal. Most of the dirty comics have to move away. They have to go to the States.
Who would be the biggest of the dirty comics south of the border? Who's kind of the...
Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries is?
Yeah, probably. In terms of numbers that he plays to,
yes.
Yeah, Jim Jeffries. And if Dice came back, it would be Dice again.
Is Dice playing? He's not.
He kind of comes back. He does some stuff in Vegas and stuff, but he doesn't really tour that much.
God, it's funny. You listen on the Sirius XM, where the comedy channels are.
Sure.
There's a bunch of them. And people forget, because they always hear the big stadium ones, right? It's always like the people. But when you hear some of those club ones, where you can hear the air conditioning in the background, holy fuck, is it uncomfortable?
Oh yeah,
it's the real stuff. Like it's the real world. He's gone up and he's dropped cunt a couple of times.
Yep.
And he's like, where are you going? Oh, and you can hear the thing, and then he starts going after someone's wife, and you can hear nobody's laughing.
Yep.
And you hear that air conditioning in the background, and I'm like,
20 seconds.
Montreal Expos game.
It's so uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
The boys are back in town. You're listening to Raw Mike Richards, brought to you by Bell Lifestyle Products on Newstalk Saga 960. And now, from the Bell Lifestyle Studio, here's Mike and Dave.
841 Newstalk Saga 960. Raw Mike Richards, Darren Frost in studio. On Twitter, one of my favorite names and handles of all time.
Yep.
At Comedy Whore.
I'm calling myself that. That's why we can say it on radio.
Yeah, that's why it's
that's the rule.
It's totally fine.
Yes.
And of course, when you work as the quote unquote dirty comic, which south of the border means you're just getting booked all the time. I'm sure you're never short on dates.
That's the dilemma.
When you say that phrase in Canada, people are like, oh, I don't know about
in
this.
Canada, due to whatever, the media, whoever, they run from controversy. In America, they embrace it. I mean, look at Trump. Some of the people love that stuff, love the stirring of the pot. It's built on that down there. In Canada, we're friendly people, we're nice people. So it's like, we shouldn't be saying these things, but watching on TV from America, that's what it is. So it's tough getting the word out sometimes to get people to go, hey, I know I like this. They always tell me, why didn't I hear about this? Well, it's hard.
Well, it's because it is like the dirty little secret. We actually have comics that
world-class comedians in that category of dirty comics. Sure, everybody knows who Jim Jeffries is and Dice, but there's world-class comedy here, and some of them had to leave. That's the other thing. It's like sports. If you want to get good, some of them have to move down to the States because there's just not an infrastructure here to celebrate it.
And it's weird because you touch upon something that I think is big for a lot of us. It certainly is for me, and that is, it is almost the last bastion of free speech when you go to a comedy club.
Yes.
And so when I hear about people wanting to not allow a certain comic to play, I go, if we lose that battleground,
right,
we're done.
Yes, but there is a difference between freedom of speech and freedom of consequence. That's a big difference, right? I think people should be allowed to say, I don't want to hear this. I'm not sure if this should be allowed. It's when they go one step too far. Like if they want to call the club and they say, I don't think this person should be booked there, that's up to them. That's freedom of consequence. But when they go one step farther, calling it a death threat or a bomb threat or anything like that, now you've broken past that idea of like, my freedom of speech is more important than your freedom of speech. My thing is, I always warn people. Every show I go to, there's always a warning. No refunds. You will be upset. You will be offended. That's it. Don't go to the haunted house and complain that the bad man scared you.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are people that have a lot of free time, and that's all they do. And I'm sure they like your show. They'll listen and just wait for something to get angry about, and then kind of scream into the wind.
Yeah, wait every day for it.
Yes.
Here's what happened today. Stop listening. Stop watching.
Right.
Turn the channel. I mean, you have to be, and it's not passive when you go buy a ticket, wait for your time, see who's playing, sit in your chair. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff to sit in front of you to then turn around and go, I don't like what he says.
Right, and to be in a crowd where hundreds of other people are laughing and you're not. It's one thing if you're dying and you're bombing and then someone goes, this sucks, we got to stop this. I get it. But when you're killing and there's just two people who don't dig it and they stand up and they try to stop the show, ain't happening on my watch. Not when you walk through a door that said you will be offended. You can't get upset. It's what you get offended at and what I get offended at, believe me, is two different things. I'm a degenerate. You're never going to offend me.
Is it better or worse now? Is it in terms of this pushback from, and I'm not saying the majority, it's usually the vast minority, as small as you can get, that have these problems. Is it worse now? Because you talk about working as a dirty comic and trying to get a gig.
Yeah.
Has like, for instance, social media where you have social justice warriors all the time who seemingly have our best interests because they know.
They think,
Is it harder then to work as a comic because of that?
In some ways it's easier because I can get the word out myself now. I don't have to rely on other people, right? But the kickback from that is you can get fired very quickly. Like I've been fired more than hired in my career. Like I've only been successful because of how hard I work, but I've actually been fired more often than hired because I used to do tons of commercials on air. Well, guess what? You Google my name and they're going to say, Dear Pfizer, your mascot just called me this at a comedy club. You're fired. I used to be the Listerine bottle. I was fired.
That's right, too, the Listerine bottle. I forgot about that.
Sure. I get it. I used to work in marketing. I get it, but it's a long jump.
So hold on. They go to a comedy club. So you do your routine.
Yes.
And then revert it back to you as a Listerine bottle.
Yes.
And
I
say,
don't get
I'm
that
out.
at all. That's
oh, my
brutal.
God.
That's happens.
Brutal.
Oh, my God. Get a life.
I mean, I don't know 100% if I got fired for that reason for Listerine, but I know that in the future, after that actually happened with other commercials. It just happens. People go, they find out, I'm going to make sure that person doesn't work. I'm going to make sure this doesn't go ahead. I'm going to make sure the company knows. This is the world we live in.
That's frightening. That's like someone portraying in a movie Hitler.
Yes.
And then they do a Colgate
100%.
ad. You really shouldn't have Hitler.
Yes.
With the teeth brushing.
Right.
I'm just saying.
He should have halitosis. He's Hitler. That's exactly it. But that's the world, and I'm not saying all social justice warriors are bad people. Some fight the good fight. There is a small contingency that go too far, and they're actually screaming about something they don't really believe in. Freedom of speech to them means nothing. It's not freedom of consequence, freedom of speech. Yeah. I've fought for the right of any comic to say anything on a stage when an audience knows what they're getting. That's important to me. That's why I have the warnings up. No one goes to a Quentin Tarantino movie and expects 101 Dalmatians,
right.
and no one goes to 101 Dalmatians going, I hope one of those dogs picks up a gun and starts shooting people. It doesn't happen.
We're in conversation with Darren Frost. He's in studio with us here. Raw Mike Richards.
Interesting concept, though, with the dog shooting.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd see that.
Well, yeah. You'd probably be the voice of it.
Yeah.
Because, Dave, you have some questions about the actual cartoon work.
Well, yeah, let's get into the cartoon side of it. Where can we hear your voice? And obviously, it may not be this particular voice that you're talking to us right now.
No, I do many different voices,
But what tunes are we watching and enjoying on a day-to-day basis?
So there's a show on right now on in Canada and the States. It's called Total Drama-Rama. It's a really big show.
Yep.
I play a character called Harold on that. Then there's a kid show called Ranger Rob, which is like second only to Paw Patrol in the world.
Absolutely. I think it's just after 5 o'clock weekdays.
Yeah, so I play Stomper the Yeti on Ranger Rob.
Awesome.
Hey, where are we going today? That's me. See?
Yes, Ranger Rob is great.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Even the theme song for Ranger Rob is great. Okay.
Yeah. And then,
you got me hooked there, Frosty.
Just a whole history of other cartoons. Like, I've been in almost 15, 20 years doing the cartoons.
That's awesome. And you tape those voices in different parts of Toronto in the studios and stuff like that. Is that how that kind of works?
Yeah, it's still predominantly in the studio. There is a way, I'm sure soon in 5 years you'll be able to do it from home. But I like to go into a studio like this. As you know, phoners aren't great. It's hard to connect with people.
Correct.
Right? So I love being in a studio, seeing people's faces. So if they're not happy, I know.
Yeah, let's change it up then. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this: on a season of Ranger Rob or something like that, do you get the full season of scripts,
No,
or do
you
you
get
kind of
one
go?
each.
Oh, really?
Every week you get a booking, and then you get that script that you're working on. So then you have to take that script. You have to, put all your notes on it, do all your work, because there's a lot of pre-work that you have to do before you record.
Yeah, you just don't pick up a thing and start reading the dog was this. I'll
maybe
laugh
some do.
now.
I'm not that good. But maybe somebody does. But yeah, so you get each script, and so then, a course of 13 or 26 weeks is how long it is.
Oh, that's tremendous.
I miss the big studio days, and I'm trying to think of the studio, where they recorded Tears Are Not Enough.
It's
not there anymore. It was on the south side of Richmond or whatever it was.
Yes.
And it was this massive studio where they'd have huge orchestras, and then you'd be doing like a Labatt Blue ad or something, and this cavernous hall.
Yeah.
Right? And they'd be like, all right, Mike, just say your line, and you go, Labatt Blue. Now you're laughing. Thanks. And it'd take you 5 minutes to walk out of the hallway.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
Parking took longer. Parking took longer.
It's like, I don't know if this is going to last. And of course it doesn't.
No.
It's now condo, like everything else. It's now condos.
Yes.
The going in and recording.
Wow.
See, that
and
part,
running into stars, because back in the 90s, I used to run into a lot of big talent. Like, you're like, whoa, you're in this commercial, or you're doing that voice in this cartoon. It's like, that's Gilbert Gottfried. That's this. That's it. Like, you're like, okay, wow.
That was, I said, we had, from Second City. Oh, he's probably with Edna too. I'm drawing a blank. Kevin Franks.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Kevin. Yeah.
So we were,
does tons of cartoons.
So we were talking about all the work, and I said, for the most part, you get to meet certain people. And I said, I'll always remember, I think it was only one spot, maybe I auditioned with them, working with Kim Coates.
Yes.
Because it is a frightening.
Yeah, he's very intense.
He was like, what do you want to do with this? And it was way too close, way too close.
Yep.
Every movie or series he's in, like Sons of Anarchy, like he's killing someone.
Sure.
Like someone's getting a.
Yeah,
like
he's got to do the research, so he probably knows how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one. Want to do another take? No, I do not want to do another take.
Oh, yeah.
And let me leave 5 minutes before you release him, because it's weird.
Yeah.
But John Hemphill and guys like that, like
it's weird working with stars. Like, I've worked with a fair amount of them back in my day. Like, I did Hairspray with John Travolta and Walken, and Michelle Pfeiffer had scenes with all of them. And it's weird.
It is
Because
weird.
you can't, on movie sets, you're not allowed to talk to them. It's just
is
the way
that what
it is.
Is that what they do? So they're like, don't. They're
It's
not
not
looking
even so
for
much
friends.
they're saying it. It's like they've got a web of people around them, because otherwise 80 people would run up to them all the time. Oh my God, you're John Travolta. You're John Travolta. So I'm working a scene with him. I literally said to him, hey, I'm going to move this. You better get out of the way. He just looked at me like I wasn't there. So I'm like, okay, we run the take. And I almost hit him with this giant, because I'm a cameraman. It's an old school. And I almost hit him and knock him over. And then someone runs over. I go, can you tell John that I'm going to do this again, and then they walk over to John and they say it to John, and then John's like, oh, okay, fine, and like that's the way it is. That's how it works.
You know what?
You want me to do this, don't you?
In a second, hold that thought. But it's funny you say that because you're talking about John Travolta, a massive actor.
Yeah.
It's like that at the lower levels too.
Sure.
I've done probably 4 movies with Michael Ironside.
Yes.
A good Canadian actor.
Great actor.
Really good actor. You can't talk to Michael Ironside.
No.
And it's funny, off the set, he'll come up to me and he tapped me once on the shoulder and started bugging me. Don't talk to me. Starts laughing because one of the directors said that to me directly.
Right.
Me not knowing.
Right.
But at that level, and then it's just funny. But anyway.
But you know what? People go, that makes him a jerk or not a good person.
No.
But what people don't realize is this is a massive production and it's all on him.
Yes.
Right? Maybe not the same degree, but still.
Correct.
He's the star. He's got 10,000 things to think about and worry about in that moment.
Yeah.
And so they don't want people running up and going, I loved you in V, or I loved you in Grease. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want that.
He knows
they want him
Ironside.
thinking what's going on the next scene. Because I'll tell you something else, and I'll tell you this. When a star screws up on set, it's hilarious. When someone else screws up on set, it ain't funny.
Not as funny.
No.
Not as funny.
Well, now that we have John Travolta in studio, I am going to allow you to talk to John Travolta right now.
But it should be, so you tell, so I'll be John, you tell, he's my people,
Yeah.
you tell him
Yes.
what you want to do, and then you tell me I'll be John.
All
So
right,
you tell him what you want
Okay,
to do.
so just like the last scene, I'm going to have to pull this camera back, and Mr. Travolta is going to be in the way. He's going to have to sidestep over while I do that.
John, you're going to have to sidestep when this actor here pulls the camera out of your way, so please be careful.
Excuse me, who you're talking about? You're talking about that little guy over there?
I am, yes.
So he's telling me that I have to move from him?
Yes.
I'm getting triggered.
Let me just say something. That little dick has no power and no say. I will say where I stand and who I stand. You tell him to bugger off.
Yeah, you tell him to pull it around me.
Frosty, bugger off.
Yeah, okay, all right, I guess. If I want to keep this job.
Are we ready to do the scene? 'Cause I'm ready.
It's so funny, though, too. Star makes the mistake.
Oh.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Make sure you
Blooper
take
reel.
that. And then I remember screwing up a couple different lines when I was doing an ESPN anchor.
Yeah.
Can we please do that again? Oh, they make you feel so uncomfortable. They make you feel like shit.
Yes.
Okay, but we're going to run out of...
It's so true.
We're going to run out of time here, and people
yeah.
are like, okay, so you're talking about these big gigs. We're talking about where Darren Frost is going to be.
Frosty Canadian Tour. Go.
It starts in April in Halifax, and it moves all the way across the country. All my dates are on my website, comedywhore.com. And it's going to be, like I said, all the way right across. So in the fall, I go out west, and in the East Coast in April.
So you're basically 2020.
Is
You're
one
doing
big
Canada.
Yes.
Wow.
Now,
that's massive.
in this area, do you have dates
I have
necessarily?
Oshawa and Burlington coming up in the next month and a half, so go to my website and you can see I'm headlining the Yuck Yucks there in both markets. April 3rd and 4th, I believe, is Oshawa.
Okay, well, you know what? Make sure you tag me when this stuff
with
is
the
going
dates,
on so we can get out there
Absolutely.
because we just love seeing you.
It'd be great.
Like
this
I
is
said,
far too short. We do apologize on our bookings and
It's all
stuff
good.
like that.
I have fun. I'll come again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you in there. And as I said, the guys work so hard to actually do this, and as those watching on Twitch would have heard off air, is basically you got to do a lot of this stuff yourself.
Yes.
Because no one's going to do it for you.
Yes.
It's a lot of hard work. You're not getting a private plane out of this, but you're providing for your family,
You're
for your
flying
kids.
in a jump seat, trust me.
Yeah. Would you be a good pilot, do you think?
No.
No.
No. Every day figuring out if I want to land this or crash.
Do you think people would see the cockpit open, you'd walk out, and you think people are going, yeah, that's a great pilot?
Yeah, no, I think that we made a mistake. Maybe this discount airline is really going too far with the discount.
He never went to school for this.
He's wearing Bermuda shorts. What is he doing?
He did a couple good landings on a flight simulator. Let him have a go.
I think he's been drinking.
Think.